Yesterday, in a panel, we heard someone saying not every woman can be an astronaut. That is true, but the question is every girl wishing strongly enough to be an astronaut? We heard about salary gaps, digital gaps, but there is also a very important element that emerges very early, at very early age, and is the dream gap. So this ability to be able to have aspiration and not be held back by stereotypes, gender norms, education. So there is an element that keep the girls from projecting themselves higher enough. Now there is something that I like to say every time, is that the word desire comes from Latin and from the word desidera esse, which means to be far from the stars. And in a way, desire meaning that we all have in us this tension, this wish to reach out for something much bigger than us, for something that completes us. And this is for these reasons that I'm extremely happy to welcome this panel of ladies that have been able to reach the stars. So let me introduce you Sandy Magnus, former astronaut from NASA, Chiaki Mukai, former astronaut from JAXA, Claudie Haigneré, former astronaut from the European Space Agency, and Elena Serova, former cosmonaut, State Duma deputy and hero of Russian Federation, which is the highest state award that you can get in Russia. So thank you everyone for being here. Now let's dive into the discussion, and let me recall everyone that next year we will be celebrating the 5th year from the landing of Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin on the moon. And this has been something that's, big, one of the greatest achievements of humankind. But the space adventure, the human space adventure, actually started 8 years before with Yuri Gagarin, the first man being orbiting the Earth in '61. He was followed by Alan Shepard. And only 2 years later, actually, the third man in space was a woman, was a Russian woman, Valentina Tereshkova. And she was for 3 days on her own piloting her spacecraft. And this was an incredible event. She was the second woman was also a Russian. And we had to wait 83 for the first American lady. That was actually, so 20 years after, we had Sally Ride, the first woman in space. And this was, in a way, starting an era of much more intense activity of women in space. So far, around 560 people have been in space, out of which only around 65 are women. So I would like to ask to Sandy if, we know that we from the business know that the first female astronauts had to face awkward situations. They were invited to have makeup kits, so to be jolie when they were in space. The space suits were not really adapted to her. How this has changed, what we have learned from these past times, and how this is now different.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the invitation to come. We have come a long way. We still have a ways to go. Of course, that's the theme of the conference, I think. I was fortunate enough to be on the very last space shuttle mission in 2011. There was a crew of 4, and I was the only woman on the crew. And I got so many questions from the media about how does it feel to be the only woman on the final space shuttle mission. And I was a little bit conflicted about the question, because we all understand the importance of role models. And actually, everyone in this audience is a role model, whether you're a role model for your peers or you're a role model for young people, even down to the junior high age. So I encourage you to remember that when you're talking to young people. So it's important to have us women out there and people out there as role models, and it's important to highlight that. But yet, on the other side of it, we really are striving to get to a point where it's not remarkable that there's a woman on the crew, that you feel like you need to remark on it, that it's normal, it's expected. It's just the way we operate. When I was in the astronaut office, it was from 1996 to 2012, one of the things that NASA was considering at the time was to have an all-female shuttle crew. And those of us in the office, we really were against it because we felt like it would be a gimmick. And that if NASA happened to assign a crew that had a lot of women on it, because we were the right people for the job at the time, that would be really a wonderful thing. But it's really not appropriate to assign an all-female crew just to have an all-female crew. We want to be recognized for the merits that we bring to the job, to the talents and skills that we bring to the job, not necessarily as an entity or a statistic, right? And so when I was on the last shuttle mission, it was really, I think one of my goals is to start to create that environment where I'm on this crew because I bring talents to the job, I bring skill sets to the job, I bring some experience to the job, and it just so happens that I happen to be a woman. Awesome, great, let's highlight that for the young people. And I think that's the right way to approach it.
Thank you very much. And Chiaki, the number of women in science and engineering has increased, but since in the last 10 years, only 11 women went to space out of 110 men. So who inspired you into your career, and how important you think are the role models, in particular in space flight?
Well, talking about the career path, many people ask me if to be an astronaut is my childhood dream. Actually, it was not. Because when I was a child, as you mentioned, by the way, I flew 2 times in Space Shuttle program back in 1994 and 1998, and mainly the purpose of science. So I really love the science and it's the background of the medical situation. And then the situation is when I was 9 years old, the first human being flew into space, the Gagarin. And then the two years later, when I was 11 years old, the first women flew. And then when I was a high school student, Apollo landed on the moon. But I always thought it was so exciting. So maybe they inspired me to be into the space program. But actually, I was born in Japan. At that time, there was no space program. So there's for Japanese children, to dream to be an astronaut was a dream of the dream. It was not the realistic dream. So my dream, first dream, to become a medical doctor to help the people suffering from diseases. And then later, the Japanese government asked us if we can do some special experiment on board the space shuttle. So it is more utilization program like a science and technology. So that's how I was very much impressed by the way that the people can expand our activities on the ground to the space. That maybe that is the situation inspired me. So if you think about the career path, maybe you can, whatever, you have some specialties and you can claim, I have very good at this. So with this, I can contribute to the space program, etc. Then the women, nationality doesn't matter. Yeah. That's how I worked.
This is a very important point that I want to highlight. We don't have in this panel only engineers. We have also doctors, also Claudie Haigneré, she's a doctor. And the jobs of astronauts are not, are a variety of, ask a variety of competencies. So you don't need just to be a super tech guy to be an astronaut, but really a number of skills and backgrounds are also, I mean, part of the backgrounds of the astronauts. I will now turn to Claudie. Claudie, we have seen a big expansion of the space, in particular civil activities. We have now more than 70 countries that invest in space, just the double compared to 10 years ago. And in the coming years, we will have something like 14 missions to the moon, 13 missions to Mars. So a big activity with many more players than in the past. So my question for you is, how do you, what do we have to expect for the future of human exploration?
Thank you, Ersilia. I'm really happy to be with you today, and mainly to be with my colleagues, astronaut. I just wanted to say, before speaking about the future of human space exploration, you remind a little bit about the past. In the present time, we have a wonderful International Space Station in orbit, and that's a wonderful scientific laboratory. I would say that, and that's really something important. The second point, I would say, for me, this present period for space exploration is also one of international collaboration and cooperation, and that's why I'm so happy to be with Russian, Japanese, American, and European counterparts in it, and that's really an interesting diplomatic tools in some period where it's not always easy to work all together in all the fields. So this is for the present. And for the future, you are right that the landscape is evolving quite quickly. More space powers are now present in the landscape, and we could have welcomed also Chinese astronaut with us, because there is some female Chinese astronaut that flew some years ago. The Indian, for example, are also preparing a mission for the future. So we all in this institutional, I would say, panel of agencies working together, more than 17 agencies working, coordinating the efforts for the future, thinking about what else beyond the low Earth orbit. International Space Station is in orbit at 400 kilometers. We have been there for more than 40 years, I would say, in this low Earth orbit. And I will remember that on the 20th of November, it will be the 20 years of the first crew on board the ISS. So that's an anniversary, an important one. So beyond this low Earth orbit, there is two main destinations that I would say are reachable in this 21st century. One, I would say, is a mid-term for crewed manned missions. The Mars destination, very interesting in the point of view of science, technology, and expansion, exploration in deep space. But I would say we have still some demonstration, technological demonstration, in order to be sure that it's safe for a crew. But there is a lot of technological breaks that are implemented, and robotic missions with rover, with landers, with orbiters around Mars. And soon also, on the 26th of November, there will be the InSight mission going on the surface of Moon and trying to understand a little bit more the seismology and a lot of interesting purpose. In between low Earth orbit and the Mars destination, reachable in 3 days, I would say, going forward to the Moon. The Moon is a destination where there is a convergence of focus of the different agencies now. But not just agencies, that's what I wanted to add in this new landscape, new era. There is also an interest coming from private companies. I'm sure you heard about SpaceX program with Elon Musk, or Blue Origin from Jeff Bezos, having already some technological elements, launchers, rovers, that can allow us to reach this destination. So the future is very interesting because we will go further exploring, I would say expanding our potential. That means expansion including how to make that a sustainable endeavor and not just a nomadic expedition or a short visit, but a sustainable endeavor with cislunar platform, the gateway, or lunar surface activities. Having in mind this idea of sustainability, that means, yes, sure, there is a wonderful science to do on the Moon and around the Moon. There is a wonderful technological developments, advanced technologies that will be allowed in this situation. And there is maybe also an expansion of our economical sphere. That's why I was introducing the private companies in this landscape of the future of exploration. That means that there will be professional astronauts, as we are, and we have been trained for a long, long time in order to cope with all the situation and to manage adequately this extreme environment, I would say. But there will be also kind of our society, of humanity participating in the future of space exploration. And I hope it will be with all the diversity, all the talents that will learn how to live and work together. And I would say what's important for me is that we have such kind of a responsibility to think the future maybe differently as the present, where we are living in. That means learning how really to live, to cooperate, to think, to be synergistic, to be coherent, to be sustainable altogether for the future. So obviously, women have a place in it as representative of this diversity of our civilization.
Thank you very much. I would like to point something for the audience. So we are talking about the International Space Station, which is a 400 kilometer from here orbiting Earth, meaning that the astronauts see sunset and sunrise 16 times per day. They don't take 16 times breakfast, I assume, but they still, it's an amazing thing. And actually, it's true, I should have highlighted this from the beginning. Not just is the first time that we have 4 female astronauts from different countries together, but here we have represented 4 of the 5 nationalities of the partners of the International Space Station. So this is an endeavor where we have a big role from the US, Japan, Europe, Russia, and the missing one is Canada. And actually, Elena Serova, she has been the first Russian astronaut on the space station. And so for you, Elena, I have this question. Can you please share with us your success story? And we also want to hear from you, how did you decide to pursue this career in space?
Спасибо большое за вопрос. Я, с вашего позволения, буду говорить по-русски. Переводчик будет мне помогать.
Thank you very much. With your permission, I would like to speak Russian, and I will communicate in English with the help of my translator.
Вы абсолютно правы. Действительно, это одна из самых сложных и опасных профессий. И, наверное, для девушки, которая выбрала данную профессию, это, наверное, немного странно казалось ранее.
You're absolutely right in saying that this is a dangerous and perhaps a difficult profession. And for a girl to choose such a profession in the past, it might have seemed as a strange career choice.
Но, однако, с детства меня всегда интересовало все, что касалось инженерии. Я в детстве не играла в куклы, они меня интересовали только с точки зрения их составляющих, как они были собраны.
But speaking of my childhood, I would like to say that I have always been interested in all things technical, in engineering. I never played with dolls. Dolls only interested me from the point of view of how they were made.
И когда мой папа занимался машиной, он всегда меня брал вместо мальчика с собой.
And when my father tried to mend his car, he'd take me instead of any boys.
Потому что мне это было действительно очень интересно.
Because I was genuinely interested in it.
Очень большую роль в моем выборе сыграла моя первая учительница, которая рассказывала нам буквально все о космосе. Кто сейчас летает в космосе, кто делает новые открытия, какие новые технологии сейчас существуют в этой области.
An important role in my choice of career should be credited to my first teacher, who told us a lot about space, about what's happening there, who's going there, about all the new technological advances and new discoveries.
Именно поэтому я сделала свой выбор при поступлении в институт на авиационном Московском институте, факультет аэрокосмонавтики, аэрокосмический факультет.
And that is when time came for me to decide where to go to university. I chose the Moscow Aeronautical Institute to study Aerospace and Cosmonautics.
И там же я познакомилась со своим будущим супругом, который также очень сильно интересовался космонавтикой.
And that's where I met my future husband, who also shared my interest for space and aeronautics.
Сейчас он работает над новым перспективным пилотируемым кораблем.
And he is now working on designing a new manned shuttle spaceship.
Вместе с ним мы пришли работать в ракетно-космическую корпорацию «Энергия» как инженеры.
Together we started our careers in the Rocket Aerospace Engineering Company as engineers.
И именно там мне впервые пришла в голову идея, что я могу попробовать себя в качестве кандидата в космонавты.
And that's where I first had the idea that I might try myself out as a candidate for the Aeronautics and Cosmonaut place.
Самая большая часть, самая ответственная часть, это было пройти, сложная часть, было пройти именно медицину, медицинское тестирование.
The medical certification was perhaps the most responsible, the most difficult and the most challenging part of it all.
Но на удивление я прошла эту часть довольно быстро. Наверное, это было самое быстрое медицинское обследование за всю историю космонавтики.
But I was very surprised that it went smoothly, quickly, and perhaps this was the fastest medical testing in all the history of aeronautics.
Это было большим сюрпризом для наших мужчин и для наших специалистов, и тем не менее я попала в отряд космонавтов.
This came as a big surprise to all of our men, all of our specialists and experts, but all in all, that's how I ended up as part of the Cosmonautics team.
Это было достаточно сложно, потому что уже в течение 17 лет в космос из России не летала ни одной женщины.
It wasn't an easy task because for 17 years there had been no women from Russia in space by then.
В отряде космонавтов были женщины-космонавты, но им так и не удалось побывать в космосе.
There were women cosmonauts on the team, but they weren't able to go to space.
И это накладывало очень большую ответственность.
And this made responsibility grow even higher.
Наверное, будет очень интересно поделиться тем, что когда я подавала заявление, то у меня уже росла дочь.
It would probably be interesting to mention that when I applied for the program, I already had a young daughter.
И я была в роли хозяйки и хранительницы домашнего очага.
And I was a homemaker and a homekeeper.
Мне пытались доказать, что невозможно совмещать одно с другим.
People try to prove that you cannot do both.
Но для меня было делом чести доказать, что все возможно. Возможно быть и домохозяйкой, и хорошей мамой, прекрасной женой, и при этом делать свою карьеру.
But for me, it was a matter of principle to prove that you can achieve everything. You can be a good mother, a good wife, a good homekeeper, and build your career.
Это была большая ответственность, потому что я не могла подвести всех тех будущих девушек, которые на моем примере захотят в будущем сделать карьеру космонавтов и астронавтов.
This was a huge responsibility because I understood I couldn't fail all those young girls who would like to choose this career path in the future.
И, конечно же, самой высшей наградой для меня было то, что наш полет прошел без единого замечания.
And of course, the highest reward was that our flight came without any difficulties or any reprimands from anyone.
Сейчас в нашей стране ситуация меняется, и все больше девушек хотят посвятить себя космосу.
The situation in our country is currently changing, and more young women want to dedicate their careers to space.
Необходимо заметить, что очень много женщин работает в аэрокосмической отрасли
There are many women who are currently employed in the aeronautics
и обладают грандиозными знаниями, которые помогают сейчас осуществлять программу международных полетов.
and have extensive knowledge that allow them to take part in the International Space Flights program.
Но они почему-то сомневаются в своих собственных силах.
But they keep doubting their own strength and their own potential.
И наша задача объяснить им, что они смогут, если захотят.
And our job, our mission is to explain to them that they can and they will if they want to.
Наша задача не сражаться с мужчинами, наша задача сотрудничать, потому что во всем должна быть гармония и баланс.
Our job is not to fight men. Our job is to cooperate because balance and harmony should be there in everything.
Спасибо.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you very much, Elena. That's very nice testimony. Sandy, you told me I can ask any questions, so I want to ask you one personal question and one is more, in commenting what's going on the private sector. The personal question is, okay, myself, as I said, I choose a scientific career because I think that a life without music and art can make sense, and a life without science can make sense, but you lose an extremely important opportunity of transformation of yourself through science. Now, from the Sandy at time 0 before flying and the Sandy today, what has changed in your perspective on things, in the way you think about the big challenges that we are facing, or what is changing?
That's a good question. I actually have a whole speech I give about this, but I'll try and condense it. I think first of all, when I first dreamed of wanting to be an astronaut, I was in middle school, and I really doubted. It was such a big dream, as Chiaki and everyone's coming. It's such a big dream, I really didn't know if I could do it or not. And I decided in the end that I had to try, because I didn't want to look back on my life and ask myself the question, I wonder what could have happened if I would have tried to be an astronaut. I decided to try, because you never know until you try. And you owe yourself to go try. And if you don't make it, okay, fine. You can be disappointed, but you can't be upset with yourself because you gave it your best effort. And that's really the only thing that you can ever ask. And even when I applied to the astronaut office and I got in, amazingly, and I showed up, and this actually, the men and the women who showed up, we walk around that first day in the job and we're sort of dazed. Why are we here? Why did they hire me? I don't understand. They're going to find out that I really don't belong here. And slowly you learn that, hey, I can do this job, and it's a really fun job, and it's a great job for learning. But I think having faced all those challenges and accomplishing those challenges, and then understanding what it takes to fly people in space, when I came back, one of the very first things, and I led an organization of about 70 people and 30,000 volunteers. I did that for 5.5 years. And you really realize that there's not a lot of things that you need to worry about. People would come to me, oh, this happened, this is horrible, we have this big mistake, there's so many things to fix. And I'd look at them, and did anybody die? And they'd say, no. I said, fine, it'll all be fine. So I think I got a lot of confidence that no matter what happens, and no matter what life throws at me, I know I can handle it. Because, and you can too, right? Because you think about it. We're human, I made mistakes as an astronaut. We're all gonna make mistakes no matter what we do. And learn from it, get past it, learn from it, develop your next approach for when that particular mistake happens again, make a different mistake next time. So I think that's really, from a personal viewpoint, that's really the thing that I learned the most. Just a little bit about the space station. One of the things that I was able to do during the course of my career was work on the space station program that Claudie mentioned. It's a spectacular program, and there's a space community all over the world that are very passionate about what we're doing, about putting people in space, using space, putting equipment in space, learning more about the universe. And I discovered this community in the course of training for flying and then flying. And it's really interesting when you look at the space station program, what we've accomplished. So for 20 to 30 years, depending on when you count the beginning of the program, we've got all these people in all these different countries working together on this one very, very complicated technological project to build a building in space. And we've been able to do this over this multi-decade period of time because the group of people who are engaged are extremely committed to the project. This has worked across multiple languages. It's worked across multiple political agendas. It's worked across budget challenges in each one of the individual countries at different times. It's worked across different philosophies on how you do engineering, different philosophies on how you do management. It's worked across the English system and the metric system. And yes, we use both. It's a big pain. But this program shows you what we can do as human beings when we really, really, really are committed to solving a problem. And so when people ask about the benefit of the space station program, yes, it's doing wonderful science. Yes, it's pushing the exploration of humans beyond our capabilities. Yes, it's stretching our knowledge of the universe. But most importantly, it's showing us what our potential is as a species to solve problems together. And I think that's probably the thing I learned the most, not necessarily related to flying in space, but with respect to being in the space program.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Sam. Very interesting message. Also, a message on failure and how you learn from things is very important. Some years ago, at NASA, the motto was, failure is not an option. Today is fail early, fail smart, because there is a lot going through the risk and the opportunity to learn from the first time when something really didn't go how you wanted. So this is also a message that now, I mean, in Europe we are not so at that point yet, but the importance of taking the risk and not being afraid of failing. Chiaki, I have a question for you, because what is important is not just talking about the experience, but also about your unique perspective on our planet, on our little spaceship. So what does the perspective from above teach you about humanity and the planet, and looking at it in a different way?
Well, I think maybe two ways to describe. The first thing is if you do anything related to the space program, maybe same as the big project, we need to develop team. And then if we want to develop a strong team, we need different people or diversity. So it's just a mixed team, makes the strongness, so that we can conquer some difficulties. That's how I learned even before flying into space, because we needed to work internationally, men and women, and then different professions and nationalities, etc. And the second thing is when I saw our home planet from space, I felt like, wow, so many different peoples living in a different area, doing it a different way, the different lifestyles. And then the Mother Nature, Earth, is holding, embracing our diversities very well, so that we have diverse living organisms actually living on our mothership. So that made me so actually impressed a lot. And then using that opportunities and also using my background, because my background is medicine, I promote the utilization program of the space, especially the space medicine as a preventive medicine for the ground-based medicine. Especially, for example, nowadays you have heard about the SDGs set by United Nations Sustainable Developmental Goals, that everybody living on the Earth needs to be welfared by the Earth, our environment. And then it sounds like SDGs is only for the Earth living people, but nowadays the people working space also needs to take care of, wants to take care of, or be able to take care of SDGs from the viewpoint of space. For example, if we just utilize the satellite, and then the satellite gives us a lot of information related to the Earth environment, so that not only the disaster or land monitoring, but also we can prevent some infectious disease happening from a certain area if we can monitor and also interact or predict some environment of the certain Earth area, so that we can save millions of people caused by some the environmental change. So that is the one way. And also space station does not always have medical doctor. So we have telemedicine, teleeducation, telescience, everything is related to tele so far between International Space Station and Earth. Maybe in future between Moon and the Earth too, but maybe Mars too far away for the tele something. But anyhow, telemedicine is for a very useful tool, so that I believe that the space is for humanity. That's what I think, because space doesn't have any border at all. I think space is the ultimate, the final area which does not have the country-related borders. So that I think we have to keep the spirit of space for everybody, like our air or water for the everybody. The space is the final frontier, so that we can share this resource among the stars, as well as for the future, the generation to come. So the space is for humanity, I think.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. It's a very important perspective. And Claudie, I have a question from you. We are in this high-tech now, world, and robotics, digitalization, and so on. Do we really still need to send human into space? And how this is so crucial for inspiring the new generations?
Thank you very much to give me this opportunity to speak a little bit about inspiration. What I have learned after my experience as an astronaut, I would say, that this point around education of the young generation is something very important. For sure, we know I would say the formal education that we have in school, and education to be prepared, but we need also this education to inspire. And really, human space exploration is an inspirational adventure that is really exciting. Space and this aspect of a big project to think the future of humanity. So International Space Station, now we're thinking in terms of a moon, around the moon, the surface of the moon. I'm promoting for the European Space Agency this concept of a moon village, how we can live and work together on the moon in cooperation with institutional entities, the agencies that we work with, or with private companies. And for Mars, it's a big project too, and this is really something inspiring. And we have always a question, I think, when we are on stage, but with your eyes, can you explain what you have seen through the window? And in your body, can you explain this feeling of being in microgravity? So this incarnation, embodiment, I would say, of human in this adventure of exploration is something important and a request to inspire. Coming back to this very technological and scientific era in which we are now, maybe after these 2 flights in space, I can say that maybe I try to keep a bigger picture as the overview that we describe through the window as astronauts. And bigger picture, that means also that this career in science, in engineering, there's not just knowledge. We have a power with these new tools, being able to understand a little bit some keys in science and technology. That's something very important to empower, to be actors of the future. But we have to think that with our responsibility. You speak about humanity. So that means that we have the possibility today with bioengineering, gene editing, with geoengineering, with the development of artificial intelligence to change the configuration of the future for humanity. So that means we as humans, having these tools and the knowledge of these tools and being actors, we need to be wise. So maybe I learned a little bit about wisdom, if I may, and our responsibility in this evolution, individually and as humankind, for sure. And still speaking about this possibility to be in harmony, as you said, for the future of humanity. So speaking about science and technology for the young generation is not just about acquiring knowledge. That's also how to use wisely. And that means humanities, arts, are in the same dimension as the power of science in order to configure the future.
Thank you very much, Claudie. And Elena, have a last question from you. I hope we will have some time also for the audience. Is there any major lessons that you learned in space that you want to share with us and with the public?
Да, спасибо большое. Действительно, это так. И вот я хотела бы поддержать Клоди в том, что мы должны использовать не только знания, но и накопленный опыт.
Thank you. Yes, there are indeed lessons learned, and I would like to support Claudie in what she said about using not just our knowledge, but also our experience.
Сегодня уже произносили некоторые моменты по вопросам экологии. Это одна из важных тем, которая звучит сегодня в мире.
We have already mentioned or said a few words about the environment today, and this is indeed one of the main topics that we have today in the world.
И я хотела бы поделиться с вами своими наблюдениями в этой части.
And I would like to share some of my observations about this.
На борту Международной космической станции я проводила исследования по наблюдению ледников в Патагонии.
When I was aboard the International Space Station, I took part in research and helped carry out research on the ice caps of Patagonia.
Я делала большую серию снимков этой части планеты.
We took many images of this part of our planet.
И я видела, с какой скоростью тают эти ледники.
And I was able to see the incredible speed with which these ice caps were melting.
Однажды я увидела огромный айсберг, который плыл по направлению к Африке.
I once saw a huge iceberg headed for Africa.
И от витка к витку он разрушался и таял.
And it was melting incredibly fast, and you could see that.
Это была катастрофическая быстрота таяния этого айсберга.
As we did our labs, we could see that it was melting with a catastrophic speed indeed.
Мы все понимаем, что происходит глобальное изменение климата.
We all understand that there are global climate changes at place.
И сейчас все больше человечество винит себя в этом.
And today humanity is blaming itself more and more.
Но люди себе немножко льстят, что они могут глобально изменить климат.
But I think people flatter themselves if they say that they can change the climate globally.
Мы с вами знаем, что во времена динозавров климат был совершенно иной, и тогда людей не было.
We all know that climate was completely different during the age of dinosaurs, and there were no humans around at the time.
И тем не менее он изменился, и изменился очень сильно.
And yet it changed, and it changed very much.
Я это говорю к тому, что мы с вами должны провести глубочайший исторический анализ изменения климата для того, чтобы мы с вами могли быть готовы к тем изменениям, которые нас ожидают в будущем.
Why am I telling you all this? I'm telling you all this because I think we should carry out a deep historical analysis of all climate changes so that you and I, all of us here, are prepared for the changes that lie ahead.
Я не говорю о том, что мы должны отбросить в сторону влияние человека.
I'm not saying we should forget the human impact on the environment.
Безусловно, человек влияет на изменение климата, но не настолько, как нам кажется.
Undoubtedly, humans have an effect on the environment, but perhaps it's not as huge as we'd like to think.
И мы можем замедлить некоторые процессы, но не остановить их.
And we can slow the pace of some processes, but we cannot change them entirely.
Почему я об этом говорю? Потому что мы с вами сейчас все вместе сообща, мы живем на одной планете. И если эти изменения будут, то они затронут нас всех.
Why did I bring this up? Because all of us here, we live on the same planet. And if these changes take place, they will affect all of us.
И мы с вами должны быть готовы к этим изменениям.
And we should be ready for these changes.
И второе направление, которое мне хотелось бы отметить, это направление тех технологий, о которых говорила уважаемая Клоди.
And the second thing I would like to say is the technological advances that Claudie mentioned.
После моей экспедиции, когда я вернулась на Землю,
After I came back from my expedition,
я поняла, что если мы хотим осваивать, колонизировать Марс и другие планеты,
I understood that if we want to settle other planets like Mars,
а мы должны будем это сделать,
and we will be forced to do it,
потому что один из величайших ученых нашей эпохи, Циолковский, говорил, что планета, наша планета Земля, это колыбель человечества.
Because one of the greatest scientists of our time, Tsiolkovsky, used to say that our planet, the Earth, is cradle of all mankind.
И рано или поздно нам нужно будет ее покинуть.
And sooner or later we will have to grow out of it.
Мы должны придумать новые технологии, благодаря которым мы сможем быстрее достигать планеты.
We should come up with new technologies that would enable us to reach other planets faster.
Я верю, что мы стоим на острие науки, что очень скоро будут открыты новые законы физики, благодаря которым мы сможем, возможно, придумать абсолютно новый тип двигателей.
I believe that we are standing on the brink of innovation and that soon new physical laws will be discovered that will allow us to build new engines.
Благодаря им мы будем достигать планет других галактик гораздо быстрее, чем мы делаем это сейчас.
Which in turn will allow us to travel to other planets and our galaxies much faster than we can now.
Также, возможно, будет придумана искусственная гравитация,
Perhaps we will come up with the artificial gravitation,
потому что невесомость так или иначе влияет на здоровье космонавтов и астронавтов.
because it is a major factor in cosmonauts' health.
И если мы хотим колонизировать другие планеты, то космонавты и астронавты должны туда долетать здоровыми, чтобы они могли дальше работать.
And if we want to settle other planets, then we should make sure that astronauts and cosmonauts can reach them in good health.
Возможно, в будущем будут новые разработки, как сказать, скелетоны, искусственная поддержка скелета.
Perhaps in the future we'll have new developments in terms of exoskeletons,
которые сейчас уже разрабатываются в некоторых военных сферах в разных странах.
which are currently being developed in some countries for the military,
Для того, чтобы это могло помочь в будущем осваивать новые планеты.
and this might help us to settle new planets in the future.
Это сейчас звучит все как фантастика, и тем не менее это все необходимо для того, чтобы мы могли двигаться дальше.
It might sound like science fiction now, but it is all important for our future progress in this direction.
Вот такие небольшие наблюдения и, скажем так, мое личное мнение вот в этих вопросах.
These are just a few observations and perhaps my own personal opinion on this matter.
Спасибо.
Thank you very much.
This is great. Thank you very much. It has been very thorough discussion. We learned a lot. I don't know if you have time for one or two questions. One question? Okay, question for a panel, not for a specific person.
Thank you, first of all, for your amazing perspective, all of you. Quick question to all of you. What is it about space that has made this international cooperation possible in a way and at a speed that hasn't happened on the planet?
Allow me to assign the question, so given that Sandy is close to me, I will assign it to us.
Okay, I'll make a brief answer in case someone else would like to add. I think when you talk to people who are passionate about space, and actually when you even talk to children, what attracts children? It's dinosaurs in space, right? And there's something about the idea that we have inside of us as human beings. There's something about that idea and that vision and that hope of what we can become and where we can go, that idea of exploring that transcends what country you live in or how you brought up or whether you're living in the city or living in the country. And so this dream, this hope, this vision is what glues the space industry together, especially, and we cling to that, and that's the common bond that we share that allows us to work through all of the problems that we have and all of what could be considered barriers. That one kernel, that one core is what draws us together and allows us to achieve what we have achieved with the space station and what we will continue to achieve in our industry to move humans beyond our planet. And I don't...
Yes.
I think maybe diversity, because the space gives the very strong challenge. Because unless we hold or embrace the diversity, we will not be able to challenge. So I always think, learn from the differences, because we cannot learn from the similarity. and learn from the difference and cherish similarities. That's all I think space program gives us to accelerate to the whatever the difficult situation to make it come true.
Thank you, Claudie.
Just maybe to add that we need to be successful. And I learned from my experience in training or in the space mission, if we have a success-oriented mission, the diversity is a plus, and we are able to optimize the solution for the success.
А я от себя добавлю, что космос должен быть вне политики, потому что мы должны работать как единая команда. Именно благодаря этому мы можем достичь наивысшего результата во всех наших стремлениях и открытиях.
And I would like to add that space should transcend politics because we should work as a one team, as a whole, and only that way we'll be able to reach the highest results that we can achieve.
Thank you very much for this speech. And because dinosaurs were mentioned twice, we have a joke and say that the problem of dinosaurs is that they didn't have a space agency. So let me conclude with this. And again, thank you very much. I mean, this was a privilege to have this panel, and looking forward to next occasion. Thank you.